Hello, welcome to another Blood and Beans. With me, Sociopathic. I got Pockets Lockhart with me here this morning as well. Shiloh is still asleep, so she is not able to join us as of yet. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. I see the leader said that leader of the Lost Souls, more specifically, said that he had a nice brunch because he did not oversleep. I did not oversleep as well. I did get up a little later than I wanted to, more like 5:30 instead of 4 o'clock in the morning to go fishing, and I didn't catch anything worth keeping anyway. But it was fun getting out there kayaking.
I have been up since you've been up, and I had my stuff.
Pockets has been awake as well.
I sat for like 10 minutes, and then you came home. I was like, can't take a nap.
Well, that happens. Weekends get busy. Got the librarians playing in the background.
Well, I'm gonna put on Manifest after this.
I think it's gonna be a kind of a low-key, lazy Sunday today.
Very much.
No hikes or nothing. I know the family's so disappointed about that.
I took my pill. Well, my half a pill. It's not. It was a whole pill. Now it's a half a pill.
So, good game day. Be a good day to play a little VR.
Watch a movie with the wife.
Watch a movie with the wife.
You know, oh no. Heaven forbid, sit on the couch.
Yeah, no. God, heaven.
Give up your master chair. That used to be my dad's chair. Kind of funny.
Heaven forbid, play some games.
If it were up to you, the whole goddamn house would be an arcade.
No, not true. That's why I moved everything into the game room. Biscuits and gravy with scrambled eggs and bacon is...
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a breakfast right there.
And I could probably eat all that with a couple more eggs.
She probably could, to tell you the truth.
I could eat like 8 eggs. Probably more.
I've seen her eat more.
I've seen her eat more.
Hope you've all been enjoying the Locust Lake series so far, the Summer of Locust Lakes. We've got 3 more stories left, and those 3 stories are one long story, and they're all about intertwining everything else that's been going on in the series. Cult of Locusts, the journals, stuff like that.
Yeah,
the game room.
I made my daughter's room into a game room.
The teenager moved out, and I turned her room into basically an arcade. I've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade machine with the 4-player setup. I got that in there. A CRT TV and a flat screen. The CRT obviously is so that way I could play light gun games like Duck Hunt or Super Scope 6, stuff like that. Can't play light gun games without a CRT television. So I made sure I got hooked up with one of those. I've got this regular Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii U, PlayStation 3, Sega Genesis, NES and SNES Mini.
I don't know where the end is.
I think that's all I've got hooked up in there. I think. Don't quote me. I might have more in there too.
Hello?
That's all I can remember. Oh, and the child has blessed us with her presence. And take your time, leader. That's the great thing about YouTube is the content will be there whenever you're able to get to it. Everybody's been very busy throughout the summer, so that's perfectly fine. It feels good to be able to. That's what I'm saying. It feels good to be able to get outside and go do stuff and not be stuck indoors.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. The Locust Lake series will be sitting up there waiting for you whenever you are able. So 3 more stories left to go, though. Good morning, Fuzzy. How are you? How? Oh, because of the game room. That's why you're jealous. I don't know exactly which part you came in on. I've been collecting all those systems and crap tons of games for them. For
Forever.
basically since my childhood.
He has 2 Ataris. No, it's an Atari. Oh, I love Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I like going for walks too. We usually go for a hike on
Oh, yeah,
Sundays,
we normally go for hikes on Sundays.
I figured today because we're going to be going up to Locust Lake the weekend of August, Friday the 13th, actually. And that will be, a solid 3 days. It's the long one in the woods.
Yes.
So, yeah, I got 2 of them. My first Atari 2600 was the flat one, the flat black one, the oldest, not the oldest, the last model they put out, the Slim. I didn't have any hookups or anything though for it. And then I was at the flea market down by Locust Lake and came across an Atari in a plastic, plexiglass case with like 8 or 9 games, all the hookups. It was an old wooden Atari for like $40. So I picked that up, and that's why I've got 2 of them. But yeah, it is an Atari 2600. Hello, creepy clown girl. Good morning. How are you?
And we have a little Atari in the
the flashback. We got one of those flashback machines. But yeah, I got a PlayStation 1 and 2 in the bedroom as well. That's not hooked up in the arcade yet. I would like to put the PlayStation 2 in there because that one's backwards compatible with PlayStation 1 games. So that I know that, but I'd like to put it in the arcade so I could play it. So, but that was my morning. Going out kayaking, fishing. Didn't catch much fish, but did a lot of kayaking. It's a great way to spend the morning, having breakfast on the lake. So
my morning was wake up, go to the bathroom, and come out here and speak to you guys.
Yeah, that's Shiloh you hear way back in the background. She literally just rolled out of bed and walked out here. So she was gonna go fishing with me this morning, but I think she was up kind of late. Just a little. There it is.
I'm looking at it.
PS3, Wii, Xbox 360, GameCube. That's awesome. See, that's a cool game room, or man cave, really. The old bedroom I use as the game room now is not big enough for a pool table, air hockey table, and or ping pong table.
My old house would be.
So, fortunately, not one of those. Wouldn't mind getting one of those little like Pac-Man tabletop machines though, as like a table/arcade game to put in there. That would actually be kind of cool. So we'll see. It's a possible later edition. So I thought Candyman was coming out in August or in October, because it's supposed to come out October last year, but apparently now it's coming out in August, and I can't wait for that. That looks really, really good. Been kind of waiting a little bit too long for that movie to come out, which just kind of stinks because it's not going to live up to 2 years worth of hype. It doesn't really matter how great of a movie it is. I mean, maybe it could, but I highly doubt it. So I'm going to have to go into it with my my expectations curbed a little bit.
I'm crossing my fingers for Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters also looks amazing. Just saying.
The little Stay Puft.
I would definitely recommend checking out the OG Candyman movies, especially the old first one, because this looks like a remake, but it's not. It's most certainly a sequel. There's a lot of actors from the first movie that are actually coming back and doing this movie, so it's a continuation of their character. I'd imagine it would be a sequel. And in one scene, you do get a quick flash of the Candyman in the reflection of the car window. And if you pause it right there, you can see that it is Tony Todd. So I believe, if I'm not wrong, that this movie is about Tony Todd's Candyman passing the torch down to someone else. And that's all I'll really say about that. But I'm excited. And the new Ghostbusters looks way better than the last one. It actually has characters from the old movies. Dan Aykroyd's definitely going to be in it. Bill Murray is rumored to end up making an appearance in it.
I love Bill Murray.
Wouldn't be shocked if Sigourney Weaver was in it. It's not a remake like the other Ghostbusters was. It's a sequel.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say I've been waiting just about 30 years or so, give or take a few, for a Ghostbusters 3. So I'm very, very excited. Again, I don't see it living up to a 30-year hype. I'm going to curb my expectations a little, give it a little bit of leeway. But I am kind of freaking hopeful. Can't help it. Yeah, Tony Todd does Candyman. He's awesome. He's got a perfect voice for narration. Voodoo magic. Yeah, I can't do it. It does. Those long waits can destroy a movie with yeah. Let's not talk about the Ghostbusters remake. Exactly. I watched that movie once. I've never watched it again. I refuse. We watched the old the first two Ghostbusters
mad.
All the time. We watch them every year, at least a couple of times a year.
Because I love them. Those are those are a couple of my favorite movies.
We've only seen that one once and have never had a desire to watch it again.
Nope,
Just like
never.
the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Nope,
I've
never.
watched it twice. Pockets has only watched it once. And that's why I've only watched it twice. And I really have no need to watch it again.
That's not my Freddy. It's not.
Nightmare on Elm Street remake was
good job. It fell
kind
out
of
of the
fell
sky
flat.
right as it started. I'm sorry. Right as it freaking started.
Getting Pockets going on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Here we go.
Here we go again.
And I thought she was going to go off onto one of her grinds my gear rants.
They had better special effects back then than they do fucking now. I mean, come on, the whole latex scene that was important. And look what they did to it. They all computerized it in the new one. I mean, no, it even looked bad. Like, you can see that it's CG. Latex effects are so much more practical, especially in
they call them practical effects.
Especially in the horror genre. Especially with Freddy, because it fucks with your mind. And that's what it's supposed to freaking do. Not be like, oh, hey, that's CG. Wow. Ooh. Come on. What? Don't look
Nothing.
at
I'm
you
just letting
see
you.
the looks I'm getting.
I'm just letting her go.
It makes me mad.
Even if they couldn't be able to see it because you would have a mask on.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't see the faces I was making either if I had my mask on. I like the Friday the 13th remake, but it's in a different. The Friday the 13th remake.
Okay.
It wasn't half bad. The 20-minute sex scene I think was a little bit too much. In
Yeah,
fact, I think it was a lot too much.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I like what they did. They paid a really good homage to the old Jason movies. Part 1 was like the black and white intro scene in the beginning. Part 2 was them camping in the woods with him with the sack on his head, and before they cut to the intro, right as he, at the campfire, attacked the last girl. Part 3 is like that guy's the red garage, the barn, where Jason ends up getting the hockey mask, which again, homage to part 3, and then part 4 was the party in the house that was going on through the remake. So they did a good job coalescing the first 4 Friday the 13th movies into one movie. I really did appreciate that. That was actually really cool. Also, like, we never saw that kind of a Jason before. That was a completely new Jason, right? Like in the first Jason movie, which is Friday the 13th part 2, technically, exactly.
Jason, and what
Even though
they
he
did
was in
with
the end of the
him, I
first
thought it
one,
was
but
a
in the
good
end of the
idea.
first one, the second one, stuff like that, he was a monster. He wasn't human. He was basically a monster. And yes, he was technically supposed to be human, but after he came back to life. So that was the original story, is that Jason's mother was beheaded and he came back from the dead to avenge her death. He was a monster. And when he died at the end of part 4, he became a zombie after he rose back up in part 6. And then after he went to hell, he came back and he was like demonized. So he was a demon monster zombie that could regenerate lost tissue. And then in Jason X, he became a cyborg. So he became a cyborg demon zombie monster. And what they did with the new Friday the 13th is they made him human. They turned Jason into a crazy, deformed dude who just stayed living in the woods and acted like Rambo and dug all these tunnels underneath the camp, which I didn't like.
He made like little.
I didn't like the whole tunnel thing.
As to where,
but again,
where people were.
It could have been.
It
could have been worse. It could have been the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Exactly.
So
see,
I've watched that movie quite a few times. Yes, quite a few times. I know it just as well, if not close to as well as all of the other ones, because I do like Jason. Just saying. If you didn't know that. Fuzzy also thanks you for your opinions on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Don't screw with my Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just like don't screw with my Star Treks. Don't fuck with my Star Trek.
Yes, practical effects mixed with CGI, but a heavy emphasis on practical.
Yes,
CGI should only be used to make slight enhancements to practical effects. Like still have the bullet pack and the fake blood and all that stuff. But if you need a little more blood, just add a little bit more CGI blood to it or something like that. But it's got to be seamless and it's got to be small.
Yep.
Effects have to be practical. I agree, practical effects are way better than CGI.
I admit that some of the kills on some of these horror movies are good because I mean you get the splat right on the camera.
Yeah, but
they're getting too. I'm sorry. I'm.
The splat on the camera is a Sharknado thing.
I'm getting too slashered out. Everything's getting too campy.
I'm not slashered out.
No.
Speaking of slashered out, like okay, so you didn't enjoy Fear Street.
No, that I like.
That's a slasher. That's a trilogy of slasher movies.
And didn't I say I was waiting until all 3 came out before I was going to watch them?
And that is a great set of movies. It's a series, Fear Street on Netflix. It's a slasher series with an overarching story arc with an underlying evil that has to be taken out by a group of people that are chosen to learn. And it's really good, and the whole underlying story arc by a controlling evil that's been behind the whole thing the whole time and explained through a series of stories. It reminds me of something. I can't quite think what. I think it rhymes with Blocust Blake. A little bit. There's a little bit of Blocust Blake in Fear Street. Doesn't have the Ahab at the end. I mean, it kind of does because there was a victim in the first movie who, after the hero's journey, comes back in the third movie as the Ahab to stand up and confront the evil. And so, yeah, I guess it does kind of have an Ahab as well. Gotta say, I don't know. I'm always calling out Netflix for shit, like telling them they're writing shit movies and that I should write for them and they should give me a job. Well,
they ignore them.
Instead, maybe they've just started looking at my channel and are like, this Locust Lake thing seems good. Maybe we should do something like this. and then, boom, Fear Street.
And then it's in Japanese.
Fear Street's not in Japanese.
No, I know that, but have you noticed that a lot of their stuff, like Netflix and stuff, some of it is in Bulgarian, some of it is in
Look at Shudder. Look at Shudder. Shudder is full of freaking great horror movies, and half of it is foreign.
You have to read it.
So what? It's good stuff. Shudder, again, still has great stuff on it.
I like Tubi.
Reality, yeah, it's gotten pretty scary for sure. That's why I like to escape into horror stuff.
I like Tubi because it's got Full Moon Productions on it, and I love Full Moon Productions. I mean, Puppet Master came from Full Moon Productions.
Puppet Master series is great.
I mean, that's where I believe that's where Demonic.
And I'll admit, the first Puppet Master is the best one by far, and the rest of them were not as great by comparison. Some of them were actually pretty bad.
The one in the mansion was.
But I love Puppet Master. And Demonic Toys. Demonic Toys is freaking great.
Yeah, but I like how I like Tubi's setup.
I will say this: Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys has got to be the worst movie I've ever seen, and that's saying something because I've seen some really bad. I've seen some really bad cheesy horror movies like Puppet Master 10, and they do not hold a candle to. They don't. Trust me. We'll have to watch it again. We have. We have it in box set.
I know that. I was like, what did they do to my Puppet Masters?
So I'm gonna take pockets after this is over. I'm gonna sit down and we're gonna watch Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys.
No,
and
we're
I
not.
promise you, she'll never complain about Puppet Master 10 again.
I've already watched it with you. I don't want to watch it again. Please, no. I want to watch Manifest. I have to continue with Manifest. And
Slenderman stories are. I like Slenderman. Slenderman is very much an OG of internet scary stories. Could say a lot of things were born from that mythos and that era. Creepypasta itself has kind of gone a little bit by the wayside. Everyone seems to like true crime and true horror stories nowadays, which is perfectly fine. I am a firm believer that the campfire story, which is essentially what a creepypasta is, will always make a return. People will always come back to horror. It just depends on the generation. It's timeless. So, but yeah, Slenderman is. I like Slenderman. It's a good mythos. It was very creepy mythos when it came out. Did kind of get under my skin a little bit, which was actually kind of cool. And I ended up writing a couple of stories myself, which are actually up on my channel. The good old days. That's all I can say. No, the problem is it's not a ghost story yet, NWO. Soon, though. Soon enough. Not too soon. Not too soon. Just I'm enjoying the ride for whatever it is and whatever it's worth. I am enjoying it. And I miss 80s horror as well. That's why I do what I do. Really like Tales from the Crypt. It's one of my favorite shows. So that's why every Saturday, the stories are always like, around a half an hour to an hour long, live action intro, live action outro. Really try and mimic that 80s and early 90s horror feel. I'm a huge fan of the slasher. That is my favorite subgenre, so I know exactly what you mean. 80s horror was the best. The best. Shocker was a great movie. Absolutely love that movie. And there was one Slenderman. Good morning, Wrath, by the way. There was one Slenderman movie I really liked, though. I can't remember the name of it now. I actually have it on DVD. It was really good. It was shot like a found footage film. And it was about these people, because of this camera footage they found, are being stalked by Slenderman. And you can only see him basically in camera footage, which again, it was, I don't know, it was good. I'll DM it to you in the Discord after this is over. I got a browser up right now. Let's take a look.
What are you doing?
Are you not paying attention?
I was watching the librarians. They were putting back an angry Egyptian god.
All right.
Literally just watch it.
So I'm sure there's going to be a million of them here.
Oh, son.
Yeah, I'm looking for the name of the movie though that we have.
Oreo is watching.
That's not the name of the. That's not the name of the movie.
Or Animal Crossing.
I
think it's
Marble
funny to watch you guys play
Hornets.
video games.
It's a Marble Hornets movie.
Java watches Daddy play video games all the time.
Always watching a Marble Hornets story. Came out in 2015. It's really good. That's the name of it. Always watching. So if you want a good Slender Man movie, that one I actually really enjoyed a lot, and it really did capture the feel of a creepy pasta put on film. Good stuff. Oh, the House movies? Yes, I love the House movies. I am a really big fan of House 1, the first House. Great movie. I believe Harry Manfredini, if I'm not mistaken, the guy that did the music for Friday the 13th. He did the music for House. Kane Hodder, the guy who played Jason 4 times in a row, he's a stuntman in that movie. It's got a bunch of great actors in it. The guy that played Norm from Cheers, he's in it. It's a really good movie. Pockets is a big fan of House 2, the second story, with the caterpillar dog and the cowboys and finding an Indian temple in the wall. I was not a huge fan of that one as much, mostly because it's more comedy than anything. Wasn't really all that scary. The third one I could never find in video stores, was never there. It was always House 1, House 2, and House 4. And House 4 it's not as good as the first two. It's okay. It's got the same guy as the first one is in the fourth one. I don't know if it's the same character or not. If it is, they don't really mention it at all. And if it's not, what a freaking waste. Why would you bring back the guy from the first movie, put him in the fourth movie, and have him play somebody completely different? What a waste of an opportunity. So then I went and I found out, I did some research. How come I never saw House 3? I mean, I can't find it anywhere. House 3 started out as House 3, but because it didn't have a whole lot to do with a house, they changed the name of the movie last minute. So it's actually The Horror Show is House 3. And that's actually a really good movie too. So if you're ever wondering, that's what House 3 is The Horror Show. A little interesting piece of movie trivia. I've probably heard of that before. Yeah, Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets were the guys that invented Slender Man. So this is like their movie. Always watching a Marble Hornet story. It's very good. It is very good. It's great for, dare I say, like an October watch. Like, in the midst of Halloween, the pumpkin season, season of spooks and scares. That's when you want to watch that movie. It's a good one. Yeah, my brother, he's a huge Michael Myers fan. That's his favorite as well. And love the Human Centipede movies. Just saying, I've seen all 3. The first one is my favorite because it was done. A lot of people get grossed out by it, but okay, then watch the second and the third one. They're absolutely freaking deplorable. The first one is done very tactfully in a way that doesn't show you anything. It's all insinuated, and I absolutely love it. It was written very, very well. It was shot very well. A lot of disturbing imagery and cinematography. It was done very, very well. Huge fan of all 3, and my 11-year-old daughter has seen all 3 of them. And not this year. So like at 9 years old, she's seen all 3 of them. So I don't hide anything from my kids. I'm a firm believer that if I do, they're just going to go to a friend's house and they'll put it on over there. So she might as well sit down and watch it with me, and we can talk about how they make all the special effects and stuff. Yeah, a lot of people do not know The Horror Show is House 3, but it is. It is. You have them all on VHS, Fuzzy? That's freaking awesome. Love VHS. I have VCR hooked up to the CRT in the game room. For those nights I want to watch, put on a VHS tape of Pumpkinhead or something like that and go sit on the game room floor, bowl of popcorn, watch a movie old school. They attempted to, back in like 2014 or 15. There was 2 girls, if I'm not mistaken, don't get me wrong, that attempted to kill some girl as a sacrifice to Slender Man, basically to prove that he was real by basically admitting that he wasn't, because they're the ones that are doing it. So, and then they got caught and stuff like that, and because of that, everyone blamed Slender Man. They blamed creepypastas, but that kind of stuff could happen with any kind of content. All it takes is to have a big following. and somebody just wants it to be real bad enough. I mean, Star Wars could have a big following. I'm sure if I dug hard enough, I could find somebody murdered over Star Wars. It's kind of a product of anything that gets so super popular it grows beyond itself, right? Where an idea becomes a belief, and that belief can drive a person to do things that you would think that they would not normally do. But I wouldn't go ahead and blame the content per se. But yes, it was involved. The Slender Man mythos was involved in a scandal way back when. And so to combat that, I wrote a Slender Man story. I've re-narrated it on this channel as well, but I wrote it right back then in the midst of it because A, Slender Man wasn't at fault. The mythos is actually really good. It's like saying horror movies are bad. They make people kill people. No, that's not how it works. And B, I wanted a good Slender Man story. A lot of them were the same, or people were just narrating everybody else's stuff, and it was the same story on everybody else's channel. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a Slender Man story. I think now I've written 3. The Top Hat, What Wicked Branches Weave, and Slim Pickens. I got, like Jason, get into Slender Man, got lots to say. Oh no. Saw movies are all right. I liked the first one, the third one, and the new one that came out, Spiral. That was good. That was good. Got to say, when I saw Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson in a Saw movie, I was a little apprehensive. But to my surprise, that was a good movie. Exactly. Same thing when I was a kid. That's how it was for me, too. My parents let me watch some things, but then like Pet Sematary, they wouldn't let me watch. I just went to my friend's house and watched it. And that's what kids do. And nowadays there's the internet. The kids don't even need to leave their house to go sneak and watch something. Just pull it up on their phone, or it's their Nintendo Switch, or whatever. They'll figure out a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what all teenagers have taught me. If there's a will, there's a way. So might as well just, hey, sit down and deal with it in, real time and put it into, some kind of healthy context. Yeah, I'm into horror. Why would I shield? I'm not going to shield my kids from it. I want them to enjoy it as well. Oh yeah, Pumpkinhead is great. I love the Pumpkinhead movies. My wife actually got me into those. The last 2, the sci-fi ones, those are a little cheesy, but again, I'm all about cheesy horror. Like Slumber Party Massacre movies. I freaking love those, especially the first one. Those are just great. Love those movies. Yeah, and they've tried to do it with music too. Rap, Eminem, whatever, stuff like that. They're to blame for this, they're to blame for that. No, it's not. You can't just blame. You can't blame art. Life doesn't imitate art. Art imitates life, and then life imitates art from there, and then art imitates life. So in a way, life does imitate art, but art's not really to blame. It's a product of culture. People's actions are a product of themselves. Mixture of nature and nurture, right? Genetics and environmental circumstances. At least that's the belief. Some people think that it's one way or another. That's something that people have tried to pinpoint forever. And then that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, that's why you can't blame video games or music or movies or anything else along those lines, because you don't know what makes a person do the things that they do specifically. We like to try to think that we do. Frontal lobe damage this, and cognitive disorder that. But in reality, I mean, we really can't even pinpoint exactly where our personalities come from and exactly how we developed. Psychology is still very much a very young science. It's not like other sciences, and it's not based on things that are observable and measurable and tangible. It's all based on conjecture and mental constructs, observations and assumptions. So it's hard for me to point a finger really to anything. Oh, cool. Yeah. If you want to. Wasn't trying to like shamelessly self-promote. They're really good. Just saying. But the Top Hat, That was the first one that I wrote. What Twisted Branches Weave. That's probably my favorite Slenderman story that I've written. And Slim Pickens. That's that one's a little gruesome, but again, I like that one for that reason. So I think you'll enjoy them. Hello, Lucas. How are you? Happy Sunday. You're not missing anything much, Fuzzy, from missing the rest of the Saw movies. The first one really is the best. Like I said, those Spiral's fantastic. Love the Spiral movie. That was a good Saw movie. Good reinvigoration of the series. Dead Space is a great game. Just saying. That's how you introduce somebody to horror right there. Dead Space, creepypastas, and Friday the 13th. Boom. Live or die. Yeah. Oh, cool. You got yourself enrolled into some psychology. I really hope you enjoy them. I actually took. I've got a degree. It's what my bachelor's is in psychology. And my first year at college, I was actually a little disappointed because my first year at college, they make you get all the core courses out of the way. So math, English, cultural anthropology, stuff like that. Wasn't anything to do much with psychology. And then second year was heavy psychology, almost all psychology courses. Third year was a lot of my minor, which was sociology, and I burned all those out. And then I had to take a second minor, so I took early childhood education. So I learned a lot about how we develop internally and externally, with the use of sociology as well. And I ain't going to say I retained everything that I've learned in college. I retained enough. And I can easily go look exactly what I need to find out because I know what I'm looking for. But yeah, I definitely like to talk psychology, and I work a lot of that into a lot of the stories that I write. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. It's kind of a byproduct of my education, where like somebody goes to do something irrational, like sneak out of their house. This is a prime example. The first video that I uploaded for this channel was the reason I hate Easter. And in that story, they're sneaking out of the house on a night where these bullies told them that they were too chicken to go someplace, and the kid knows that he probably shouldn't do it, and his parents are, if they catch him, they're going to be in trouble. So I work through the psychology in his mind on, how he's never done anything like this before. He's always wanted to sneak out, and if he does it in a certain way, and then they'll always be able to say they did this. So it kind of pushes through his mental obstructions into rationalizing a means for a desire for going through with it. So I kind of work stuff like that into my stories, and it is almost kind of accidental, but I don't like pushing characters in directions where I don't think that their character would go. I want a character to be natural, not just it's going to do this because the story needs it to happen. No. And if a character is going to do something that most people wouldn't do, why? There has to be a reason behind it, and it's got to be explained. So it's just something that I do try to utilize a little bit in my everyday life, is what I learned in college. Psychology is a lot of fun. Big fan of learning how my brain works, how other people's brains work. It's helped me personally more than it's helped anybody else. Like, I can try to explain to someone why they think the way they think, or try to tell someone what they should do objectively, because I'm a third party observer and I can understand, whatever. I can predict outcomes and events pretty easily sometimes. But people not only are not going to listen just because they're people. A lot of times people are going to do the exact opposite of what you say. Just be spiteful. So using my knowledge in psychology has been not very effective. Having all this knowledge on how the brain works, why we do the things we do, why we behave the way we behave, and it's actually in accordance with our emotional response to stimuli is where our behavior comes from. Little tidbit there. Um, but having this knowledge doesn't really help me integrate with other people or even benefit society. If anything, it kind of separates me from most people a little bit further, because I see things that most other people don't see, and if I try to show them, they don't want to see it. The trick to the world, and this is something I don't know if it's psychology related, because I'm sure it's not, because I learned it in my Common Core classes, or not Common Core, but my core college classes. And we touched base on it in my master's degree as well. People never stop learning. People want to stop. They like to think like, all right, I went to college or I went to high school. I've learned everything I need to know. I'm good. I don't need to learn anything else. There's a little tidbit people don't usually realize is you never stop learning. People never stop learning. You never stop developing. And if you like to learn, if you're willing to accept the fact you still have to learn all the time, just there's no school anymore. There's no one telling you to go do homework, but you still have to learn all the time. And if you're willing to accept that, then yeah, maybe explaining somebody like the inner machinations of their mind might be a little bit easier. But most people aren't like that. Most people say, yep, I'm done. I went to school, learned everything I need to know. Unfortunately, that's not only not what you should do, that's not going to work out for you very well. That's not a mindset that's very beneficial. So, well, thank you, leader. I do try to write well. Tidbits I know sometimes are a little bit short. They're a little bit more bland, the Tuesdays and Thursday ones that I write, but that's because they're shorter, right? Like I can't add the detail. I can't add those psychological aspects, or the story is going to be 30 minutes long. So I do try to stick mostly to Saturday stories. That kind of detail is kind of where I shine the most. There have been some other shorter stories I've come out with as well, but again, they're designed differently. They're designed to be much shorter, so the approach and execution of them is completely different. It's got to be more of instead of a build-up with foreshadowing and explanation, it's more or less got to be, this is what's going on, and it's actually something else you didn't realize in a very quick succession. Details help, but it's more about exposition. That's correct. I think that's correct. I know what exposition means, and that is kind of exactly what I meant to say, but in a writing sense. Right? Yeah, exactly. Don't read this. There's actually a story I've been sitting on that I don't want to read. Has some sexual content in it. It's not super explicit, but it is explicit enough. And like I said, I'm very big into psychological explanation and details. I'm very big into details. So, and Saturday stories have sound effects. And I did narrate this story on my old channel once before. It actually had 2 warnings that went in front of it. Warning parental strong discretion is advised. This story might not be for you, etc. That's a story I was set on bringing it out this fall. I was going to do a bit of a darker turn with my channel this October, because I know King Spook and Mr. Creepypasta and stuff like that, they read a lot of darker child abduction, other kinds of stories that are very shocking, and they're not really the kind of stories that I listen to per se. But if they're doing it, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to, right? But some of these stories, like the one I'm talking about, the title is actually called Dead Girls Shouldn't Have Sex. And then Wrath of Blades, Mr. Ethan Blades has also whipped up Betrayal 2 and 3 to go along with the first Betrayal. Yay, smashing babies. So I was planning on bringing a little bit more darkness to the channel this fall, but I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want anyone to come in here and see something that's so out of character from everything else that's been put up on the channel. It's shocking, and it puts them off, and I don't want to put you off. So it is something that I probably will do. I will say that. But again, if I put up a disclaimer that says, sexual content is ahead, strong discretion is advised, this story might not be for you, please don't blame me, you've been warned, all that stuff. If I start a video with that, maybe it's not for you. Maybe just if you don't like that kind of content, that kind of dark content, then yeah, just maybe move on. And then I won't be offended if you don't watch the video. Really, I won't. That's perfectly fine. I'll get it. But if you want something a little bit darker, it is something that I wrote. It is something that I narrated once. It was very, very uncomfortable to narrate. It's not something I'm looking forward to narrating again, because it's not something that I usually write. It was just a concept that I came up with and said, well, if that's the concept, that's really messed up. But let's really write it then. If that's a really messed up concept, let's make the whole story really messed up. So I did. And at first, when I first narrated, I didn't even know I was going to narrate it. I just wanted to write it, just to write something really messed up. And it worked. Got put out on my old channel, and the most frequent comment, it was almost like they copied and pasted it. I got it from like maybe 4 or 5 people. It was the most common comment, and it was almost exactly the same or very similar, like a variation of it, which is, oh my God, what the fuck did I just watch? I feel like I need a rape shower. I loved it. Great job. How do you take that comment? Do I take that comment as, okay, you like being kicked in the face, so let me do it again? Or do I take it, oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel like that. I'm glad you liked the video, but I don't want to offend you. So I'm sure you can understand my apprehension in releasing a story such as that. It's something that I've been talking about on this channel since it released 2.5 years ago. It's something that I've been discussing maybe in the future. I don't want to offend anyone. But I mean, I really think it's time. The channel does kind of need a little bit of a jolt, a little bit of a shock, a jump start. Maybe see if we can get it going a little bit again. Views and stuff have been dwindling some, which is to be expected, right? It's summertime. People are outside. They're getting away from their computers. They're finally able to go out. I totally understand that. But in the same vein, I'd like people to remember at least that I'm still here. And this might be a great way to do it, even if it's bad publicity. All publicity is good publicity, right? And I would say, all right, I'm just doing it for shock content. I'm just doing it to get clickbait for clickbait and to get views and get attention. But even that's not necessarily true, because it's still a story that I wrote, and it's something that I wrote with the intention of making you feel uncomfortable. And it did it so well, it makes me uncomfortable. So in a way, I'm actually really proud of this story and would like to get it back up there. Would like to see some of these reactions again, with the hopes that I'm not offending anyone. So if you are one of those people that would have foresight in saying, yeah, these kinds of stories aren't for me, don't watch. I will perfectly understand. Everybody. Okay, so now that I'm looking over at the comments, and everyone says as long as I've got warnings and stuff like that, we should be good. I imagine, yes, it is going to end up being back up. I am hoping for a sometime September, possibly early October release of this story. I also want to get at least one other betrayal up before then. It's kind of like a warm up to get into this, and then possibly the third one to be released in November, after Halloween, before Christmas. I do have The Project, which is coming up, and I know what's The Project, and that's not the name of the story or series, as it were. That's just what it's been classified as. I can't give any information on it because it has to do with a lot of things, but some of those lots of things are things that you don't know yet and will be revealed throughout the course of this summer. So I can't give away any of those reveals and talk about that really much at all. But I'm very, very excited for it. That series is specifically will very much make it look like my entire channel has been an introduction. And once you get the gist of what they really are, what they're about, what the project is, I think you're going to be really, really, really excited. Especially if you are a fan of the CW, and I can't say any more than that. But yes, that's coming. New FNAF stories coming this weekend, and I had to get that out before October because there is a story based on the Five Nights at Freddy's VR Halloween DLC story coming out during the 13 Days of Halloween, which is a sequel to that story. So I had to get the VR story up sooner than later. We'll be finishing up Dreamscape shortly as well. After the FNAF story goes up, we're going to be starting the 3 stories, that 3 episodic story finale for Locust Lake, Locust Lake Something Wicked. And then after that will be Dreamscape Ouroboros Part 2, The Obsidian City. And then the weekend after that will be Locust Lake, the next one, which also begins with something W. And then the week after that, I'm not going to make you wait for the Locust Lake finale. The following week, right after that story, will be the last Locust Lake story. And then the week after that will be the finale to Dreamscape. So we'll be wrapping up Dreamscape and Locust Lake right in the beginning of September. I'm hoping to release a collaboration story and possibly one of the betrayals at the end of September. I haven't checked the calendar. I can do so right now. If there's a 5th week in September, Saturday, there is not. So maybe the first week in October will be DGSHS. Maybe October 9th, I'll be able to release the project. And then I'll have one more space there for the 16th before the 13-day marathon begins on the 19th of October. Every day there will be a brand new video, completely originally written for this channel. Almost all of them, 12 of the 13 stories, are all written by me, and will feature live action intros, outros, special effects, the whole full production value that you basically see on every Saturday video. You'll get that 13 days in a row, all with a Halloween theme and stuff like that. Really can't wait. Also going to be releasing a new book at the end of September, right before October, called Restless Remains, 13 Pounds of Flesh. It's a story of it's a book of 13 stories. It's an anthology with at least 4 exclusives in it. So there'll be a lot of content in that book that you won't see on this channel. It's not going to be narrated. And one of the stories in the 13-day marathon is a sequel to the main book exclusive in that book, which is The Birth of Vengeance. The story that's in the Halloween 13 Days of Halloween marathon is I Am Vengeance. So it's a sequel to that book exclusive. So it's going to be coming out right before October. Halloween book for Halloween, for the season of spooks. So really can't wait for that to release as well. I'm also planning on doing a channel contest. I am hoping to get a limited edition sociopathic pasta hoodie made up with my old channel's logo, 20,000 subscribers strong, and printed on the front. I want it to be a gray zip-up hoodie if it's possible. Like I said, it'll be limited edition. Will be available on my shop for the month of October. And I'm also going to be running a contest, not sure of the details yet, in which you'll be able to win that, the new book, and a replica of my mask. So just keep that in mind. Be on the lookout for that contest. More details will be coming soon. So lots of great stuff is happening this fall. I know I keep saying like lots of great stuff is happening, but we are in the summer of Locust Lake. We are rounding the corner. We've got 3 more stories to go for the big finale. We've got 2 more stories to go for Dreamscape for the big finale. Not All Heroes Wear Capes Series 2 is ready to start. There's already half of the stories are already written. Doughboy's got them sent to me. I'm ready to start that series as well. The 13-day marathon, new book, contest, betrayal series, DGSHS, so a lot of darker stuff. And Christmas is completely written for as well. I said last year, man, it'd be great if we did a Christmas Monster Squad story, like Monster Squad, kids fighting back evil monsters and stuff, but with Christmas monsters. But what if it was all monsters from our stories, from my channel, like Fleshy the Snowman, Krampus Claus, and the Rat King from The Princess, the General, and the Beast. And it's happening. It's happened. It's going to be co-written by me and Doughboy 420. That's being released this year. Fleshy the Snowman origin story, that's going to be released this year. And Krampus Claus, Three is a Crowd, the third story, that will be released this year as promised last year. So I've got things pretty much amped up right through to 2022. And at that point, the Locust Lake, the new Locust Lake book, Legacy of Locust Lake, should be about ready to drop sometime in the beginning of the next year. It will be considerably longer than the Legends of Locust Lake book that's out now, which that's still my biggest book that's available. It'll be a lot bigger than that, and will also feature several exclusives as well. And the project again. I forgot to mention the project again. I mean, that's the biggest type of all. Like, so that's what's coming up on the horizon, guys. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and gonna grab myself a quick smoke. Wow, I can't believe I've been jabbering here for like 56 minutes. I kind of keep the counter and the people count and stuff like that covered up while I'm streaming, because if nobody's here, I don't really want to know about it, because I don't want to be sitting here like acknowledging that nobody's here, because then if anybody comes back to listen, it might sound like I'm whatever. So I cover it up. I don't care how many people are here, and I talk basically to whoever may be listening now or in the future. So, did not realize I've been talking for almost an hour. Had a lot to say, apparently. So, no problem, Lucas. Like I said, man, I didn't realize I've been jabbering for so long. Thanks a ton, man, for stopping by. Very, very much appreciated. It's always nice to have people stop in. Waking up at 5:15 in the morning, I come back and from fishing, and the first thing I do is like, all right, got to get blood and beans going. And the fact that my wife and my daughter like to jump on from time to time, that's always fun as well. And I love having the interaction with you guys. I love being able to talk to you guys and explain some things that are coming up on the channel. Maybe explain any questions you guys might have about any of the stories, about how one or another might be connected. I'm not sure if you guys have heard the Locust Lake story that came out last night, the Locust Lake Legacy. In that story, Mr. Shaw's daughter, Alexia, finds a piece of paper, an old piece of paper in a safe, and on the parchment is a snake eating the tail of another snake, in a helix-like formation, with multiple snakes, like an Ouroboros. And if you look at the thumbnail for the Dreamscape series that's up right now, Dreamscape Ouroboros, that's what's being described. So the Dreamscape stories do take place in the same universe as the Locust Lakes. Not sure if that's going to be important for the Locust Lake series. I want to put that out there. That might not be important, but it could be important later on down the road, and not for the Dreamscape series either. Just saying, it could be. So just keep that in mind, that those two universes are in the same area. And also, the Fence Down the $1 Million Highway takes place in Halstead. Delway's Meat House Diner, as it's stated in the story, takes place in Susquehanna County. They even go to the Devil's Punch Bowl in that story. The Devil's Punch Bowl takes place in Susquehanna. All that stuff takes place in the same universe as Locust Lake. So all those stories, and they're not connected, but in theory they could be. So yes, connections, Easter eggs. Halstead, Susquehanna County is mine and Doughboy's Dairy, Maine. Not every story I've written is about there. The Midnight Man of Ambivalence Grove, that's called, I want to say out by Richmondville or Middleburg. That's upstate New York. Bradbury's Local Legend is actually where I live, right south of Albany, It's not the town of Bradbury. I changed the name, but it's about this town. Lawson's Lament is about Lawson Lake, where I just went fishing this morning. So that's about upstate New York. So all those areas too, just like Susquehanna County, also kind of are loosely, they all take place in the same universe, basically. They might not be connected, but they do all take place in the same universe. And then beyond that, there's the familiar, which is the Pacific Northwest. There's the Monster of Pope Lick Creek, which I think is Kentucky or Kansas. It's one of those two. I want to say Kansas. So, I mean, I do write stories all over the place. But in my mind, almost all, and I mean, unless it just wouldn't work, almost all of these stories take place within the same universe. And then don't forget Doughboy's Icarus series, which is a lot like the SCP Foundation, which kind of like go around gathering up evil and stuff like that. So I think you might be able to see where some of this is going. And no, that's not the project either. But this might be relevant to something else down the line. So just, there may be directions that we head in the future. Nothing's set in stone yet. But the bowling pins are lined up to be knocked out. I sent Dog Lover on Discord my list of recommendations from season 1, and it ended up being 26 videos. Those were my recommendations. Those are the ones I'm like, yeah, you should watch these. There are some that I like more than others. Krampus Claus, everyone really, really seems to like that. I love that story. I watch it every year like a Christmas tradition. Dissonant Whispers in the Northern Woods. Absolutely love that story. The Reason I Hate Easter. Love that story. But I could keep going. The Forest and the Highway. I really, really love that story. That's, again, I wrote it. I don't want to toot my own horn, toot, but it's good. It came out very well. Again, Delway's Meat House Diner, The Devil's Punch Bowl, Spare Parts for the Gods, Soft Flesh, Supple Flesh, Tender Flesh. Ooh, that came out really good. I like how Tender Flesh came out. And yes, those are a series. Supple Flesh, Supple Flesh, and Tender Flesh. They are a series. But they are standalone stories. You don't need to watch any of them before you watch any of the others. But if you have seen the others in the series, you're going to get a lot of hinted at and insinuated underlying connections between these stories. So that's kind of how I like to set up my series, because I know not everybody likes to watch an entire series. They like to maybe just sit down and watch one story. And I don't want people feeling locked in. Or, man, I got to start at the beginning to understand what's going on. It's one of the things I love about the Locust Lake series is you can jump in at any story. Any of the backstory that is pertinent to that story is explained in the beginning. You can jump into the Locust Lake series at any point in time and enjoy any one of the series stories on its own. Same thing with the Soft Flesh stories. Midnight Man of Ambivalence Grove, again, that's a little harder, but there's enough backstory in the beginning of every one of those stories that you don't need to go back and watch the other videos, because it just explained exactly what happened in the beginning of the story. So I do try to do that. Oh, really? The Reason I Hate Easter? Thank you. I really like that story. I like how that came out an awful lot. Not going to say like every one of my stories or like my super favorite, like Quicksands of Time. It was okay. Felt it was a little more bland than some of the other stuff I've written. But still a good story. But then there's some that I'll go back and I'll listen to myself because I just enjoy them that much. So yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna close out the stream here in a couple of minutes. I don't want to keep you all day long. I do want to thank you though for stopping in with me. I'll finish smoking this cigarette here, and I know I said I'm gonna go back to my vape. I'm gotta get another charger for batteries. I gave my vape to my wife right now so she could get off of the smoking, and I'm gonna finish up cigarettes until I get paid this week, because I get paid every other week, and I'm gonna pick up what I need to have my vape back in my hand. So until then, cigarettes it is. Absolutely, man. It was fun chatting with you too. I'm really, really happy that you stopped in and chilled out with me while I was sitting here having a smoke and sipping my cold black pumpkin spice coffee. Always a good time. Great start to the morning. And yeah, went out on the lake with a nice hot cup and a small little, they call it an egg wrap. It's like a half of like a little circle, like a egg patty. They cut it in half. They take a sausage patty, they cut that in half, and they put it in a tortilla shell and fold it like a soft taco. They put cheese in it, and they sell that at the store. And they call it a breakfast wrap. So I had one of those and a cup of coffee, sitting in my kayak on the lake this morning. So that was my morning. That was where I spent my morning, and that's where I had my breakfast. It's floating on the water. Even a bad day fishing is a good day kayaking. So, all right, I'll go ahead, close this out. I really, really thank you, man, for and everybody else that stopped in today and for the stream and kept me company, kept me talking, and kept me intellectually stimulated, answering questions and diving into the subconscious of myself and some of the things that I've learned in the past and stuff like that. It's always been fun. Love stretching the old noggin muscle. And as always, guys, seriously, have a great day. Have a great Sunday. Be safe out there, please. And I will catch you next weekend for Blood and Beans. And hopefully I'll catch you this Saturday for One Night in VR, Help Needed, which is a play on the Five Nights at Freddy's VR game, Help Wanted. So hope to see you guys there this weekend, this coming weekend. Hope you guys have a great, safe day and have a great, safe week. And I will see you around on the internets. Thanks again. Bye-bye.